Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Moni Muse. My name is Monica. I started this channel a few years ago, around 5 years ago already, of just kind of sharing my record collection, and it's really grown into CD collecting. Now I'm into book collecting, now I'm into DVD collecting, and it's been a really cool realm of just kind of unlocking different interests of mine, but in the whole lane of music. And I've been really enjoying the things I've been coming across. I'm gonna share with you another mail day because I sold some video equipment and that gave me a good amount of money to go on a little shopping spree on eBay. I got a bundle on eBay of 3 films, Hard Day's Night, Help, and Yellow Submarine. And I hadn't seen any of these at the time. It was my first time seeing the Hard Day's Night and I didn't really know what to expect. At first I was a little disappointed. I'm like, this isn't like a movie. What is this? And with the Beatles film, you kind of have to go into it. It's not about the story. You're not there to see a movie. You're there to see the Beatles and interact with them and enjoy the music. And those were the parts that really shine. This is like the first time we're really seeing a music video. This copy has a documentary about kind of the behind the scenes. Ringo became the star. I think he's just hilarious, so he's naturally funny. There was a bunch of little payoffs throughout the film. Little one-liners coming from the Beatles that are fun and funny, and so this was really enjoyable. And then I said, time to watch Help. I watched this film Help, and vibrant color everywhere. It's almost like I'm in a whole new decade, but it was just a few years later Help was made. I really enjoy the fact that there's like sunrises and sunsets and using lighting, and it was so beautiful. And then filming in the snow, like I would have never thought about that. And so the film itself is enjoyable. This one has more of a movie concept. It's, you know, James Bond era, 60s. I love seeing the old technology and the old gear, and it was just so imaginative. Again, Ringo's the star of the show. But the whole thing overall, I really love George's facial reactions. He makes really funny facial reactions. And so again, I enjoyed this, a good little documentary on that. And I haven't seen this one yet. This is the Beatles Yellow Submarine, the cartoon. So this will be cool. And then I had ordered this a while back. I don't know if I shared it. I haven't even opened it. This is the Beatles Get Back. And so finally I get to see it and own it. So I kind of started this little Beatles DVD collection. All right, here's some of the records that I added to my collection. This is Days of Future Past, the Moody Blues. I'd never heard of them. This album was recommended by Mark, a subscriber, and he always recommends something. And I had seen this album at Barnes & Noble's for like $45. I'm like, I'll get an old copy off eBay and enjoy it. And I did. I really did enjoy it. It's orchestra music. This is the Days of Future Past, the Moody Blues original. So this was really great to get in the mail. Then I ordered something from my generation. This is MGMT Congratulations album. In fact, there's a funny story about this.
All right, I've been looking for this record for a long time. MGMT Congratulations, and on eBay, like I can't seem to find a good copy. I find one here in town as I'm walking to get a coffee, and I'm like kind of excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh, how much is this? And he said, wait, hold on. He gets on his phone and he says, oh no, never mind, it's not for sale. It goes too much online. I'm like, what? He said, oh, it's a special cover. It scratches off. It's not for sale. What? How dare you? I found a good find and you're taking it away from me because you can sell it online? Oh, I was so mad.
Finding out that there was a really expensive copy, and chances are I wasn't gonna get it, I was able to find a $25 copy online, and I'm like, you know what, I don't care if this is the non-collectible copy. I enjoy the music and I enjoy having a copy of my own. I have a lot of MGMT, big fan of theirs, and so I was able to listen to this. Next is an album that was sent to me, Dylan Owen. I've been following his journey as an artist ever since he reached out a few years ago and he sent me his vinyl. Now, he's so creative. I would say if you enjoy the process of seeing an artist create, like, follow his account. He does spoken word, but it's kind of turned into a little of hip hop, and you just see that he's growing as an artist. So he has this energy of making art, making music, connecting with people, and this is currently spinning on the record player, having fun with that album.
Close the roads and drive us home tonight before we turn to ghosts who won't describe how lonely getting old has gotten. and that's all that it was. A couple scrapbooks.
And then this album's a little interesting as well. This is Percy Faith Greatest Hits. Just remember driving with my dad in his convertible and how he had a really cool mix. And he had found this cool mix in a CD player he bought at the Goodwill. And there was this really cool song that it started off with, and it was instrumentals. And I'm like, I really want to hear that song again. And he didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. That morning when I woke up after trying to figure out what it was, my husband told me, like, download Google and you can hum it and it can give you a suggestion. And thankfully I had remembered the melody. It was the theme A Summer Place, and I guess this was a really popular song in the early 60s. Some people on the comments of YouTube said they heard it at the grocery store all the time. And so I found a copy on record, and a lot of his other songs are really enjoyable too. It's that instrumental music from the early 60s. This album is the Stone Roses Turning to Stone. I thought this was their second album. In fact, I even made a reel about it, but it is an EP. It's songs that they had recorded previously with their first album, but they just were kind of like B-side recordings, and the label saw that they were doing amazing in America and everyone was loving them. So it was kind of a cash grab that they did. This album in itself isn't too bad. It's just very safe. My favorite song on here is The Elephant Stone. So as I am reading about the Beatles, John Lennon talks about coming across Bob Dylan, and then he goes through a little Bob Dylan phase. So I'm like, okay, I like Bob Dylan. It's a hit and miss. He has a lot of albums, so many I don't know where to start sometimes with him, but I had found some great copies for $12, and I had previewed a few of them, and I previewed this album and I did like it. This is Bob Dylan, Nashville Skyline, and his covers always play a role. I gotta like the cover if I'm gonna buy a Bob Dylan album. This is Bob Dylan, Desire. And I mean, he's all about the hats and the coats and setting trend. And so John Lennon talked about like how he was inspired by Bob Dylan just to use different phrases and be a little bit more free in his songwriting. Vaguely know a little bit about Bob Dylan's Christian phase or Jesus phase. And I was always interested to hear like, what would that sound like? And so this album is that, Shout of Love. And you know what? I only heard side A. It's a little upbeat. It's weird because Bob Dylan's being upbeat and happy. So it's just, I'm just kind of used to Bob Dylan being a little sad and depressed. I came across a Beatles magazine. What I really loved about this were the photographs, just the prints. A lot of it is information I learned from the anthology book anyways, but just to get these on print where like if I wanted to hang them up on the wall, I could. I mean, I don't think I will because I really enjoy it in this magazine form, but to have it in my hands and to look at it and to flip through the pages. And then I came across this one. This was like an auction, so it was like $5. This is from 2001. You know, when's the last time you opened up a magazine and saw beautiful prints? I'm just kind of memorized by that, and that is a new thing, magazines, and oh my god, these are just so cool. Oh, and then I got this in the mail. This is a gift. I didn't even know it was coming. This is from Steve in New Jersey. Thank you, Steve. He saw this for 50 cents and he sent it to me. And he's not a Beatles fan, but he said he's starting to see a lot of Beatles stuff. Look at this. This is like a bookmark. I don't know anything about this book, but any Beatles book, I'm like, I enjoy just shifting through it and looking and reading about it. I came across something as I'm reading the Beatles anthology book. He talks about John, how he writes a book. I had to have the book. It's a book of poetry, writings, and sketches. And he says these are things that he just wrote and he would put it in his pocket and he published it. And he was just so happy and proud of himself for publishing something that wasn't with the Beatles, that he had something of his own. And so this was just a real accomplishment for him. This actually inspired me to learn more about poetry and writing poetry, or even just doing like short stories. Like, I love stuff like this, you know, sketches, and you get a little insight of John Lennon's head. This came in with the bundle. This is Cynthia Lennon's John's book. I haven't read this or looked at it, but you know, you get a little insight of the wife's view of him, and she'll get to share a little bit of her side of the story. So there's a lot of pictures in here. And so this is just another bonus. It came with it. So I love finding deals like that. Next is the CDs. I did order some CDs from the UK and I did pay for shipping, but it was a really good deal. I can't do it all the time, but it kind of sucks now that my taste is from the UK. I can't afford those shipping costs, and so there's been a few albums I've come across and I'm like, I just can't buy you. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to stream you. You're just too expensive to buy. I found a lot of Ian Brown's CD. Ian Brown is the head guy of the Stone Roses. You know, one of the comments was like, you gotta check out Ian Brown's music. And so I got 7 CDs. Some of these are singles, and I think this is really cool. Like, I've never really seen these. This must be a UK thing, but they're smaller packaging of the CD. There's only about 2 or 3 songs, and there's a few of these. So they're not full albums. This is singles, and maybe that's why I look like, oh wow, there was a lot of Ian Brown, but they're about 3 songs on each CD, and then this one is an album. And I have heard this one. This one is really cool, and I haven't heard this one yet. And then I had found a CD or 2 of the Charlingtons. I have another CD somewhere in the car, but I also got this one, Us and Only Us, and this is, I enjoyed this too. And I had to buy some Oasis. I always enjoyed the Morning Glory album. This was a 3-packer, and I'm like, okay, let's get 3 CDs of Oasis. Another item I just recently got was the Beatles Plus DVD. Now, I've really enjoyed A Hard Day's Night and Help and just those music videos. Like, I found myself putting those DVDs on and just skipping and just going to the songs. And I'm like, you know what? They must have a DVD available of all the music videos they made over time. And I did ask around, and I was told you might want this one. Something that popped up in the eBay search was a Lennon anthology box set. And I thought this was just the coolest thing. I'm like, you know what? I don't have a lot of Lennon's music. I have some. This was $26 on the Goodwill website. And I was just shocked. And they didn't have a real picture. They just had a stock picture. So I didn't really know what I was going to get. But this is just great shape. It looks brand new. I got the Beatles Masters, the past Masters. You know, I have one of them, but I didn't have both of them, and so this was cool to get both of them. And Nick Drake, this is something I wanted for so long, of course on vinyl, but the CD was $5, so I got a copy of Nick Drake's Pink Moon. Purity Ring was one of my favorite albums when it came out. I have it on my phone, but I never listened to it on my phone. And then I saw the Jeff Buckley collection. I'm a big Jeff Buckley fan. I have both of his albums, and I was just curious, like, what is this? Again, this was $5, and so I added it into the cart. This next package was sent over by a subscriber, The Freight, Adam. He is from Boston, and I knew he was in a band, but I had no idea that they were going to release music. And he contacted me and said that he would send me a copy of the vinyl. And I said, wow, that's really cool, but do you have a CD? And he said, yes. So he sent me over a CD copy. I'm on the go recently, so this is going to be really cool to hear. I'm all about helping you guys with your bands, however, I mean, my little channel, but this was really cool to get. The Vinyl Supernova, he's been a collector for some time now. And he's like me, he goes through purges, and so he was selling some of his records. I had ordered David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. I've been wanting this album for a long time, and it's always expensive at the record store. He was so nice and sent it for $15. I saw this on his Instagram, and I said, I don't know what this is, but please send it to me. And he said, it's the Rolling Stones. I'm like, oh, I like the Rolling Stones. And this is another original copy, which the only reason why I love original copies is because it's analog, and I love the sound of analog. Ooh, this is a little fun surprise he sent over. Bonus, Elvis. Oh my, I love this cover. Check this out. This is so cool. I'm a big Elvis fan. I know lately he's controversial. This is so cool. I never heard this before, so ooh, what a great surprise. And because I'm on this Beatle craze, I had to get some solo work by George Harrison. He's kind of become my favorite Beatle. John Lennon has this style, Paul McCartney has this style, but I think George Harrison kind of carries that Beatles style throughout the years of like, what would the Beatles sound like if they continued making music? I think if you hear George's solo work, a lot of it is like that. This is Living in a Material World. You had these like deep, profound songs that, you know, his reflection on life and reflection on the world, and just a great time hanging out with George and his deep thoughts. Opening up a package from the Beatles store, and the first one, it is a t-shirt. They had a lot of cool t-shirts, cotton, and I have been wanting this album for a long time, but just haven't come across a good deal. This is the Now and Then. This is kind of the last songs of the Beatles that we're able to get. Now and Then, originally composed by John Lennon, the Beatles version by John, Paul, George, and Ringo, produced by Paul McCartney and Gales Martin. And from what I know, Gales Martin is the son of George Martin, which is really cool. Lennon and McCartney, Love Me Do, produced by George Martin, 2023 mix. Well, I had a lot of fun sharing this with you. You know what? I try to tell people in real life my CDs, my records, my books, and no one is as interested as you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's been really fun making content, and I wish you guys just the best week. I'll see you guys later.